Hello and welcome, my name is Eli, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to set up Firebase Authentication with Nuxt.js. We're going to be using a library called VueFire, which is initially done for Vue, but it does have a Nuxt module, which is the one that we're going to be implementing right now. Before we start though, it's been a while since I uploaded my last tutorial. I've been completely out of social media working on some other personal projects. So recently, and with the help of my girlfriend, we decided to build this small recording studio, and I'm going to be updating all my past videos, hopefully solving most of the questions that I've been getting. So everything related to Vue.js, Firebase, Stripe, and of course some new content as well, like the new Firebase Gemini feature. So definitely make sure you are subscribed to the channel and that you like this video to help me reach new audiences and grow this channel. Now without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so this is what I have right now. It is a web application that you come in here. You cannot access the main page. It is restricted by a middleware. Then you just log in into your Google account and you can see here your display name, your photo URL, and of course you can sign out as well. Okay, so in order to achieve this, I'm just gonna follow the installation documentation for Nuxt.js. In this case, I'm gonna initialize a project using this command. I'm just gonna use the default npm package manager. In this case, I will be initializing the Git repository, and then you can just open it in your IDE. In my case, I'm going to use WebStorm. Okay, so once I have it in my IDE, I'm going to do some setup right here just to try and run it a little bit faster. I'm going to set up the dev command. This way I can just run it with a button. And I'm also gonna add a configuration here in Nuxt.config just to tell it to not use SSR. So I'm gonna use client side only. Disabling SSR is gonna help you not have to install some other stuff that we won't need, like the Firebase admin SDK and some other things for VueFire. So in the page, we're gonna be following the getting started guide for the Nuxt.js module. Okay, so let me run these two commands. The first one is just gonna install the Firebase library that will get us all the client-side options. And this second command is gonna do a couple more things, just adding some sections to different files like the Nuxt.config you're gonna see in a second. So as you can see, it added this line of code. I'm gonna be adding some extra configuration as well. So for VueFire, we're gonna enable the auth module by just adding the property enabled, and the session cookie property, we're gonna set it to false because we're only gonna be using the client side version of this library. Okay, now so for the styling of the application, I'm also gonna be adding another library. We're going to be using Bootstrap just to keep it really simple. And in order to install it in my Nuxt app, I'm going to be using the CDN, which is right here. These two, we're going to be putting them in the Nuxt.config as well. So for that, you just add into the app the head, and then we're going to do two sections, link and script. And we're gonna do also some attributes for HTML, which you're gonna see why in a second. For the link, I have it already right here. And for the script as well. These both are the Bootstrap libraries. And then right here, we're gonna add a property called data BS theme dark. And this way our application will be by default in dark mode. Okay, so far this is the config we have, and now we need to add some other configuration in order to connect to Firebase. And to do that, we're gonna go ahead and create our Firebase project by going to firebase.com and then accessing our Firebase console. In my case, I'm gonna call this project Nuxt demo. Not gonna enable analytics. Alright, so in here we're gonna go ahead and create a new web application. Just call it web app. And this is gonna give us the SDK configuration right here, the credentials and everything. We're just gonna copy this object, and we need to paste it right here. Create a new property called config, and then in here we're gonna paste everything that we have from Firebase. Okay, then right after that I'm gonna look for the authentication section, and I'm gonna go ahead and enable this. Then we're gonna select Google, which is the one I'm gonna be using right now, and just select the email from your account. Excellent, so that's it for configuring the Firebase project in our Nuxt project. Now we need to start doing the different pages and everything. Right now I have nothing. Let me run my project first. Also, you're probably gonna see this. Sometimes the ID kind of takes a little bit of time to set up the necessary stuff in order for it to detect the VueFire library. Okay, so there's my project running. Now what I need to do is start building all the pages that I will be using, and for that I'm going to create a new directory called pages. And in here I'm going to create the index.vue and the login page as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do in the app.vue file, I'm going to remove these two and just add a Nuxt page in order to render whatever page we are on using the Vue router. Then in the index.vue, I'm going to do some simple HTML, just index page, and then the same thing for the login page. And so with that, we should be set up with the pages that we'll be using in this tutorial, login and the index page. So my index page is going to be protected. I'm going to add some Bootstrap classes right here. Okay, so I added this card, and in my login page, I'm going to do something similar. Oops. So whenever I click this button, it should pop a new window, give me the Google account, and then sign me in. Okay, so for that, we're going to be using the composable API for Nuxt.js. I'm going to create a method called SignIn with Google. So on top of the file, just add a new script tag like this. And then here we're going to create the function sign in with Google. Of course, if you have more sign-in methods, you can use multiple methods, or you can create one big method with different providers, which is Google, Microsoft, whatever you're using. In this case, I'm just going to be using Google. Now in here, we're going to be using a method from the Firebase Authentication API. So we need to first import that. And the one that I'm going to be using is sign in with pop-up, as well as the Google Auth provider, like this. So in here we need the auth object, which is the one we need to get from the VueFire library. So auth is use Firebase Auth, like this. And then we also need to create a new instance of the Google Auth provider, like this. So this should be enough to open the window like this. Yeah, it does work. And as you can see, it gives me my different Google accounts. Okay, so once the user selects an account, the VueFire library will handle the saving the user in the front end and everything. But we need to send the user to another page. For that, we're just going to use a simple router replace, and we need to send them, in this case, to the main page. Also the router object, I'm gonna import it from use router like this. So let's quickly test that out. So as you can see, I have logged in and it sent me to the main page. Now I can still access the login page because I don't have any type of middleware checking if I am logged in, if I'm logged out, whatever. So in order to create this middleware that is going to be checking every page I access, I need to create a new folder, call it middleware. And then in here, I'm actually going to create a global middleware, meaning it's going to be applied to every single page I have. Now, in order to write a middleware in Nuxt, we need to define Nuxt route middleware like this. Then in here, we're going to have a function like this, and we will receive the to and from routes. Now in here, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the current user by using the get current user function provided by the VueFire library. Also, this has to be async. And what we're going to do in here is we're going to check if there's a user and the route the user is going to is the login page, then we need to redirect him to the main page or whatever page you need him to be. So it can be like a dashboard or a profile or something. But we know at this point that the user has logged in. Now, if there's no user and the page the user is going to is not login, then we need to send him to the login page by doing this. Okay, so this is a very basic middleware that we can use, and it's gonna do the job well. So as you can see now, I can only access the main page. If I try to go to the login page, since I'm already signed in, it's not gonna let me do that. Okay, so now that I'm signed in, I wanna be able to sign out, and for that, I'm gonna add a new card on top of the existing one in my index file. And this one's gonna have a button, very simple, with the link class like this. And then it's gonna say sign out. Whenever we click it, we're gonna fire a function called handle sign out. Now on top, I'm gonna add a new script tag, setup like this. And we're gonna create this function called handle sign out. Now in here, I need to call a function from the Firebase Auth library. So we're gonna import it on top. It's called sign out. And then in here, I just need to call it like this. And we need to pass in the auth object, which is the one we get from the VueFire library like this. Auth, use Firebase Auth like this. Okay, so that should be working now. If I sign out here, nothing's gonna happen because I'm not telling it to redirect me anywhere. But if I update this page, it's gonna take me to the login page because the middleware is working now. Now if I sign in again, you'll see I automatically get signed in and into the main page. So everything is working perfectly right now. You can even display the name of the user by using the use current user method. And then right here, we can add the user display name. You also have a bunch of different properties that you can get from the user. If you want to see them all, you can just print the user object like this. And as you can see, we have right here the photo URL, the email, the verification of the email, the display name, and a bunch of other things. The last login timestamp. In this case, I'm just going to use the display name. Okay, so finally, we need to handle whenever the user signs out. And for that, instead of programming it right here, like just adding a a route, replace, and sending the user somewhere else, I'm gonna do something that is a little bit more helpful overall, which is listen to the user object. And whenever this user object changes, it is gonna redirect the user somewhere else. For that, we're gonna go to the app.vue file. Right here on top, I'm gonna add a new script tag. With the setup attribute, and then in here I'm going to use a mounted event. So whenever the first load of the page happens, we're going to start a new watcher for the user object. Now this user object is going to be the one that we get out of the VueFire library, which is the use current user composable. So whenever anything changes in this user, we're gonna get a current user and a previous user, so before the change happened. The only thing we need to insert here is if there was a user, but now there's no user, the user has signed out, and we need to redirect him to the login page. Like this. And the router object, we're gonna get it from the composable use router, like this. Actually, we don't need to import anything. Okay, so if we sign out right now, as you can see, it's gonna take us to the login page, and that is gonna happen anywhere in the application. So if we are creating other pages and we sign out, this watcher is automatically gonna detect that we signed out, and it's gonna take us to the login page. And that's it. Now you have a working Firebase authentication system. If you go to the console, you're gonna be able to see that you have a new user registered right here. And from here, you can keep going and implementing Firestore, real-time data, cloud functions, and so much more. I'm going to be creating new tutorials with VueFire, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel and like this video if it was helpful. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.